Y'all ready to go?
It's time.
Okay, it's time to call the regular meeting of the Tracy City Council to order for Monday, October, what is the date? 8th. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want to do the invocation?
You're all blessed.
Okay, do we have, oh, we'll wait for Seth. I suppose we can approve of the minutes, he doesn't care about that, right? Have approval of the minutes from September 24th?
I'll make the motion.
And so we have a second?
I'll second it.
First and second, any discussion?
I'm looking for them in the package here because I can't remember if I read them. I don't see them in here.
They weren't in there.
They're in the first one.
I was going to say, they were in the first one. I
Okay.
read.
Yeah, I read that one. I just look and make sure they're in there.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the agenda as it is written?
No changes, sir.
Nope.
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any conflicts of interest for today's agenda? Do I? Is that a conflict for me for the liquor store thing?
No, and I actually checked with
Oh,
the
that's
city
right,
attorney
check
on
that
it.
out, right?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody from the public want to talk about something? Not on the agenda? Oh, no. So we will move right along to the petition, the liquor store RFP.
So in your packet, you have, from the liquor store RFP, I just typed up a memo, just to kind of bring you up to speed. There were no official RFPs received. There was a extension request, and then that was actually later rescinded. So my recommendation, based on from the liquor store committee after we discussed it and moved forward, would be to just continue moving on with operations and go back and review the liquor stores, possibly renovation, relocation, things like that that we've talked about in the past, in 3 to 6 months, and see where our profitability margins are. We have, for the second month in a row, made a profit. It's very slight, but we're moving in the right direction. We made about a $13,000 spread from end of June, early July, until now. So we're about 6,000 in the hole, and we're about 7,000 plus. So
Sounds promising.
it does.
Okay. What about the boards and commissions?
So in review with the ambassador from the League of Minnesota Cities, they talk about how one of the things the league's looking at now and talking to people about is that some communities have too many boards and things like that. And I've heard from some other members of the community and stuff too, that some boards are, that there's maybe, I don't want to say too many of them, but boards that are inactive, things like that as well. And then the Charter Commission, when we had our meeting the other day, the Charter Commission talked a little bit about boards and some of the requirements, board size, required meeting schedule, things like that. So the memo is to the city to review, or to the council to review the Cemetery Commission, Multi-Purpose Center Board, Aquatic Board, and then review Section 2.2 of the Charter, just to kind of alleviate that back and forth, get an idea from you guys before the charter goes back and looks at that into making any changes. So I did put down at the bottom there, you can see the writing's a little different, starts in bold. That is the way it currently reads in the charter, and when we get to that portion, we can review that. Do you want to start with the number one, the Cemetery Commission?
Mm-hmm.
So currently, the Cemetery Commission doesn't meet. My understanding, and this is before me, is that the cemetery commission was put together because somebody was privately mowing the lawns and taking care of it, and they wanted a board so that the council didn't have to go out there and tell them when to mow and tell, things like that. Currently, Shane takes care of the scheduling for the mowing. He takes care of hiring out to straighten out the stones once a year, and we budget for so many stones per year. And one of his employees is the only person that works at the cemetery. It's not my call or anything, it's just my personal opinion that it seems to be an unnecessary board. And the League of Minnesota Cities, that falls right into what they're talking about. So, without sounding like the bad guy here, we've got a board that doesn't meet, doesn't do anything, and doesn't have a function in the way I see it, so.
And Public Works takes care of it.
They had a board because the superintendent was contracted and the maintenance was contracted. They were meeting monthly, then they went to quarterly, now I think they said as needed, so it's all being handled through Public Works. I would make a motion to eliminate the cemetery board.
Second it.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second board on the list is a multi-purpose center board. This one I will be the bad guy on. I've sat in those meetings. What we have is we have a maintenance team that takes care of the building. We've got the budget.
City takes care of it.
Correct, the maintenance team from the city. We also have, there's a certain amount that we fund in there. Some of the disabled come in and do some of the cleaning and stuff, and that's more like tied with the LSS lunches and stuff, but they do some cleaning of the building based on that. We have a lease with LSS, they use it, Senior Dining uses it, we do let some other people. Diane's from her office does the scheduling and such, and the budgetary stuff is done from my office. And I think the mayor can speak for this. There's been argument about a freezer location and things like that, and it's very unproductive and, in my opinion, unnecessary at this point. And again, I said I wouldn't be the bad guy on the last one. I'll be the bad guy on this one. I feel that we need the facility, we need that, but we don't need the middleman of having a board telling us what to do when budget tells us what to do. If it's anything over what you trust my office to take care of, I'd gladly bring anything to your attention. I guess I'd just ask you to review it.
Because the board doesn't make financial discussions and that kind of stuff anyway.
So would that turn into then, so it's city run, LSS is renting from us to do the meals? Is that essentially how it would be set up?
That's correct.
It's set up today?
Currently, that's how they do it. They pay a very low annual lease for the facility. And that LSS is definitely something we need to keep supporting in the city. In fact, I had a meeting with LSS last Thursday, and they need a little bit of support from us in trying to, and I'm saying this to the cameras here, to try and get more people to come and use it. A lot of their financing and a lot of their funding is based on it. And as I reviewed the price and stuff, no one can cook at home for what they're doing. And it's a social event for people. We have transportation service in town. Those are the things that they're going to start working on, is letting people know some of the things that are being underutilized. So that was the purpose of our meeting the other day, was to try and do it, to try and expand on that a little with them.
I don't see any need to have that over there any longer either. It was, in the past, there was one employee that was over there in the afternoons for coffee. We now have 2 employees over there all the time. We don't need a board to supervise the employees. The employees work underneath you. You do all the other stuff. I don't see the need for a board.
Was it formed originally because the city administrator, I don't know how long the board's been going on, didn't want to have the time to deal with all the stuff, that they wanted a board recommending to them?
I don't go that far back, but
Yeah.
that's possible. It's really hard to say because it's been frustrating over the last few years as to who runs what over there and the entities involved. And the two major players get along fine, that's LSS and senior dining. I don't have a good answer. I just don't see the need to seat a board if it's not gonna be productive. That's my opinion.
I think all the functions that happen in that building, they're currently handled from in these offices anyway, to include, like I said, maintenance, scheduling and all that. If the board was gonna take over those things, then that would be the kind of a board that would meet, dictate the money, have their own finances, pay the employees, things like that. And I don't think there's a board able and willing to do that. Where if the city's running it, then we need to run it.
I guess one of the things we wanted when you took this position was to come in, get in the ground, which you've done, and if this is your recommendation and it's gonna be under you anyways, I guess I'm not gonna go against your recommendation.
So we had it first.
So I guess, yeah, I guess I'll make the motion.
Sorry, you made the motion, right?
Oh, did you?
On the cemetery board I did.
Oh,
I haven't made one on the multi-purpose.
Okay.
center.
I mean, I guess I can make that motion. I will trust Chris.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the Aquatic Center Board.
This one I can't tell you anything about. I don't know who's on it, what they do. I mean, I know who's on it based on a list, but I guess I kind of got to ask Shane on that because I
Really,
don't
the
know
main thing they were used for is to set prices. When they did the fee changes with the aquatic center. But this last meeting, we had one meeting this spring, and it was about where a speaker should be changed out, and it was really about it. I mean, it was pretty much pointless.
I mean, there again, this board reports to, is under you.
Everything runs
Correct.
through the city.
We have a budget
Right.
for it.
Yep. I just,
We have a manager that we would hire. You would hire the manager.
That's been one of them come and go boards.
Yep.
And I think versus seating somebody on, as a problem arises, we could seat another board because we could do that at any time. It's like the Parks Board is a come and go board base. They got together, and we got that park out in Greentown taken care of, and then they've filtered away and not doing anything at the moment.
It should be more of a committee.
Instead of board, it should be phrased different.
one of the things that I should have started this all with, to be honest with you, was when we talked to the league about it, I talked about one of the problems we have is filling all the seats on our boards. And they said the number one thing is then you probably have too many boards. Then I went through the list and explained, well, why do you have a board for that? What do they do? And when we got to the aquatic center, he said, well, who runs it? And I said, well, Public Works does. You know, they take care of the pumps, they take care of it. And then we have a manager that runs the day-to-day operations of it, and budgetary, I run it. I encourage anybody that's on any of these boards to come and be on other boards, and so we can fill our boards and be supportive there. I don't want to see anybody lose their function and support of the city, but if it's not necessary and they're not meeting anyway,
I could see with the aquatic board, it may be like an advisory group that would want to meet, like, let's say every January. You know, one person from the council and you and like whoever the manager is gonna be, and maybe a person or two from the public get together and do we need to change anything, if anything that you guys have seen? Does the manager have any new information coming across that, just to get a few opinions, and do we need to change anything? You meet for half an hour, and come up with some stuff and you're done. Just as things possibly change or situations come up, but nothing formal. I think we could probably do away with that committee too.
I think too that the point should be stressed that if anybody has an idea or an opinion or a request for the pool or the multi-purpose center, the point of contact would be Chris, and come in and if they don't feel comfortable with that, that's what the public comment for. come in and say, I'd like to see this happen over the MPC, and so the council's aware of it, so we can put the right people in the right place to make it work, versus you're on a board for 3 years and we're gonna meet once a year for the next year and a half. You know, it's the paper tiger with it, to keep track of it all would be, its time could be spent better in other places.
And we sometimes put off decisions waiting for a board to meet,
Yep.
and that sometimes is counterproductive to city business as well.
If they could bring it right to us and we could act on it. So,
Works for
my
me.
2 cents.
Well, I'd make a motion to dismiss the Aquatic Center board.
I'll second that.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So then that last paragraph talks about, at our last charter commission meeting, they talked about section 2.2, about the boards and commissions and how it's written in there. And they kind of wanted to gauge back from the council about, do you have any recommendations to board sizes, minimums, maximums? Do you have any suggestions, anything that you want written in the charter about that? Obviously, the council is the final say in what's in the charter. The charter committee can only make recommendations. But with that, that was one of the things they talked about is, you know, so we don't get stale boards in the future, required meeting schedule, must meet quarterly, must have this many members. Is a council representative a voting member on every board that they go on? Things like that. Is there anything that you as a council would like to see written into that section? Or would you like to leave it as vague as it is so you have the sweep power to just do whatever you want for every board? I mean, sometimes that might be necessary too. It just depends.
Well, most of our boards and commissions now have like a set number of people on them
In their bylaws.
in the bylaws.
Correct.
So that, to me, and they all have a set meeting period. So I would say just as long as that is set, the rest can, I would leave vague. Because if all of a sudden things drastically change, you know, we can always add more people, or they need somebody that's quarterly, you know, it's like we could request that they start meeting monthly because X happened. But I would keep it vague.
I'd agree with that.
I do too. My one question is how this reads is, okay, the city council, in addition to the boards and commissions, set out may establish as advisory boards and commissions as it shall deem necessary. So we're saying, the board, say, I'm trying to think of one of the boards, the library board or planning, and they can decide if there's another commissioner board?
No,
No, that's stating that the council.
the council decides. That's like if we want to reconstitute the aquatic center board.
But that would
Next
be, the
meeting.
council would
That'd
do
be the
it,
council's
not,
decision.
That's
okay.
or it'd be like, let's say, like you said, the library board, all of a sudden they come, it's like, we have to have 3 more, we would like to add 3 more people to the board, and here's why. It would still
I
be.
think I was just putting the
Yeah.
comment in my mind in the wrong place.
Yep, it's still the council's got the final say on changing.
Just keep in mind the bylaw is a part of an ordinance, so you would have to have
do
the
an
public
ordinance,
hearing
Right.
and all.
Yeah.
It would be a time-consuming thing to change it. It wouldn't be something that could just be decided at a meeting and.
Right, but I mean, it'd be one of those, we'd have to go through the process
Yep,
of,
yep,
but it would still be the council's
final
ultimate.
decision, yep.
That was it. The other report to the planning commission's working on a pretty comprehensive city plan right now. That's going really well. And the charter's working on the charter and staying out of the city code now because they started to look into that and say, well, that's city code and that's not the charter. That's not what they're working on, so. Otherwise than that, if you have any other questions,
There was one other board that was started Well, it was actually a committee that was started years ago, a Labor Relations Committee. Had nothing to do with negotiating anything. It was a couple of members of the council and one union rep to get together to try and handle problems at the lowest level. I was on that for almost 6 years. We've met once. So I don't know if we need that anymore or not either. I mean, that's something that we could act on.
Yeah,
I'd say, is it listed anywhere?
I don't have it listed on anything. I can definitely look into it.
I thought
That's
they,
your job, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
it is technically, you know, through the council. I mean,
it was
it's
set
council's
up because
job.
there was issues with that they didn't feel comfortable with bringing to the administrator. But I thought, Steve appointed himself to the labor board. Nothing's ever happened out of it, so I know that I know he filled the seat. I'm just saying we don't need to do that anymore.
Okay.
If it comes up again.
I don't know of its existence anywhere. It's not on our boards. It's not on anything we're tracking immediately. So unless something comes forward, I don't know of it.
Okay, request for a closed meeting. City administrative review.
I'd make that motion.
Second?
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appoint April Lichty for the motor vehicle.
So the part of my reorganization of the office for some duty appointments and such, April Lichty is moving back up to the motor vehicle, or she already has. And some of the, she's that direct everyday person on that, and I'd like to move her as the DER, the representative that we have for that.
What is the DER?
Data
Data use.
usage representative.
Okay.
Yep.
Who was
It's-
before?
Krista.
Madonna was before, yeah. But
So,
she's the main person.
So do you still have two people though? I mean,
everyone in the office, our new employee Peggy Zwak is even being brought into it, and she'll eventually get a user number and everything too. This is just the hierarchy of the person who communicates with the state and receives all the notifications from the state and things like that. Our liaison to the state, so to speak. And since she's doing the job every day, I feel it's more applicable to her duties. But it does take a council approval to appoint her as that.
I'd make the motion to appoint April as a DUR for motor vehicles.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. David?
Do my usual. Make a motion to approve the municipal accounts payable without Breakthrough Beverage, the MPC minutes from August 20th, the Planning Commission minutes from September 5th, the Charter minutes from August 16th.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve the accounts payable for Breakthrough Beverage.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All those, sorry. Opposed? Motion carries. I feel like a broken record there for a minute. Do we have any unfinished business, guys? Any mayor, council, or new business?
Can I add something for new business? The liquor store manager would like me to let the public know and the council know that they're open on Sundays from 11 to 6. We are going to be watching the numbers and making sure that it is justifiable to be open, but there's no way to know and without being open and testing it. We're trying to make that liquor store as profitable as we can, and the efforts are working now, and that is definitely something we want to try. We want to make sure people aren't driving to Marshall to buy liquor on a Sunday when they can get it here. So
Good point to be having out there. Okay, then do we have,
One more thing, being the fire chief wasn't here, the chili feed is Thursday
Thursday,
Yeah.
at 5.
5 to 8.
And their to-go is available and
Yep. Fire hall number is 507-629-5544. Need to place an order.
They still doing Edith Wednesday night?
Yep, Edith, Wednesday night at 7, I believe.
What's Wednesday night?
Edith, the exit drills in the home, turn your porch light on if you have a plan
Oh,
To get out of your
to
house.
get out of your house.
Oh, they'll knock on your door.
Take you out.
And make you write out a plan right then and there.
Have your meeting spot outside.
Instead of one of those other ones like the Mike Andres is gonna like high jump my front deck? One of those kind of things? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Well, you want to make a motion,
Or, yeah, but motion to go into closed meeting.
make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?